The idea of adopting children with HIV or AIDS may at first seem unthinkable, but these two families want to show us that it's a doable situation and that there are many blessings to boot. Kyle and Carolyn Tweetmeyer decided to adopt a child from India with special needs. Then, one day while Carolyn was searching online for adoption agencies, she found Adoption Link. Carolyn called and talked with Mary Austin, a registered nurse and adoption advocate with the agency. It was Mary who first asked Carolyn if she would consider adopting a child with HIV.
I couldn't imagine that she would even bring that up to me. I was semi-insulted, to be honest with you, and I thought, you know, how can I endanger my own children? And so I hung up the phone with her, and I thought, well, I'll just look at the list. And I focused in on a sibling group of 3, and I looked at their ages, and I realized that the middle child was HIV positive, and I thought, you know, these kids are never going to get a family. It's just the saddest thing I ever heard. They're never going to get a family. I couldn't stop thinking about these 3 kids. I just knew. I had to look back, so I called Mary back on the phone, and I said, okay, send me a picture of these 3. And as soon as I saw them, my whole being just knew right then and there that those 3 kids need to be in my home.
Well, what did Kyle say when you talked to him about that?
The first time it was brought to me, I was working, and my wife called me at work, and then she says, honey, I have seen pictures of the 3 kids that are going to be ours. And I says, what did you say? she says, honey, I think that the kids we need to adopt are from Ethiopia. There's 3 of them. And I said, are you crazy? You know, what are you talking about? And she says, and one of them is HIV positive. I thought my wife must have lost her mind at home at this point. Great, the kids have drove her crazy now. She is really bona fide. And to tell you the truth, this is the first time my wife and I were at odds about anything, like really at odds, because I was just, you know, I was thinking financially, how could we do this? I had never heard of anybody, you know, adopting an HIV child, and my wife kind of just, she backed off a little bit, and she really went into prayer about it, and so did I. And it took me about 2 weeks, and during that 2 weeks, every single day I had somebody approach me about an adoption issue. Now these are complete strangers, and I'm on construction sites. You know, I have people coming up to me talking to me about adoption and stuff, and I'm like, you know, God is really telling me something. You know, I'm like, God, look, if this is your gig, then I need you to be crystal clear on this one. I mean, more so than ever, and he did.
Samuel was one of 14 million children living with HIV in an orphanage. When Kyle and Carolyn made a decision to adopt Samuel, along with his brother Seth and sister Rachel, they had no idea how this would change their family forever.
When we went to get the other 3 kids, we spent 2 weeks in Ethiopia, and one day I had brought Samuel back to A-Hope, his orphanage, to play with his friends. And I just sat around kind of and watched him play, and there was a little bit of a stir, and 2 social workers walked in with this child who looked like she just wanted to be swallowed into the ground. And I couldn't possibly imagine pain like what I saw emanating from this child. And I got up and I asked the social workers, you know, what the story was, and they had told me that they had just they had lost their parents. Selah, and she had 2 siblings. They had lost their parents a year and 2 years for the father and 1 year for the mother, and they were trying to survive out on the streets. The kids were all tested for HIV, and the older siblings were negative, and Selah was positive. So she had just literally found out she had HIV and been taken away from her brother and sister, you know, and brought into this orphanage. I couldn't believe it. I understood the devastation. I was adopting an HIV positive kid, but I didn't know it until I was in it. As time wore on, I realized that her health was getting worse and worse, and that nobody had even inquired about her, which is very common. You know, these kids, you know, they're the modern day lepers. You know, nobody, you know, is really looking to go get these kids, especially when they're older, and now she's advanced in AIDS.
Today, 14,000 people will die from AIDS. The United Nations reports by the year 2010, 25 million orphans will be living with this virus. Here in the heart of Chicago, we've learned just how doable it is to adopt a child with HIV or AIDS, as well as clearing up any misconceptions about the virus. And hopefully, we've opened doors to families to consider these potential unexpected blessings. Thanks for watching. Here's your opportunity to receive a free copy of Miss HIV. It's a dramatic movie that takes you behind the curtain of what's really happening in the war against this virus, and you'll learn the truth of what's really working. Simply go to our website at facinglife.tv. While there, find out how you can get your personal copy of today's program on DVD.